Guten Tag, everyone. Hello, my name is Lynn, and I am delighted to be here with all of you today. Thank you in advance for listening to me in English. I studied German for 3 years, but it would not be pretty if I tried to get through this talk in German, so thank you for your understanding. So I'm here today to talk to you about a topic that I think means a lot to all of us, the future, specifically the trends of the future. The future promises growth, it thrives on acceleration, and look, in today's crazy environment, complex environment, sometimes the future can look a little scary. But I am an eternal optimist, and I believe that the future promises hope. The future is not a fixed state. We won't simply walk into it. It is, as the scholar Leonard Sweet once said, not something we enter, but something we create. And I'm delighted to be here with all of you today because I will tell you that we, all of us in this room, the digital marketing industry, we will be some of the primary creators. And let's face it, apologies. First time back on a stage since the pandemic, so apologies. Got a little lost there. The future is going to bring accelerated change, and I think all of us in this room know something about that change after enduring the last 2 years. During the pandemic, we saw change at every possible level. We saw in the shift to remote work, we saw 5 years' worth of digital transformation happening in less than 8 weeks. There was enormous demands on technology to enable that transition. And all of that new technology, coupled with shifting consumer behaviors, together they shifted entire industries. So we will be the folks who guide consumers into this new, brave new world, right? Marketing stands at the intersection of societal upheaval and technological advancement. Without us, there is no story. Marketers are the ones who help make sense of these trends and help connect them to consumers. And I think it's a pretty exciting future that we'll explore together. So we partnered with the Futures Laboratory, which is a futures consultancy, to understand the key trends that will help us evolve the digital marketing industry over the next few years. And the research was telling. The one thing that stood out among all the trends was that the human element is very, very important. So what we'll do is we'll take a look at 3 of the trends emerging out of this research and some of the future scenarios that could be possible. What we will find is that the human experience has to be central. Technology is always going to be an enabler, right? Technology is very important. But without being centered on a human experience, technology is meaningless. So let me give you an example. I work for Microsoft. At Microsoft, our mission is to empower every person and organization on the planet to achieve more. Nowhere in that mission statement do you hear the term technology. And I would say that as marketers, if we lose the human element in our excitement for tech, we're just going to become irrelevant. History is littered with all kinds of technological advances that became irrelevant because they ignored human bias, human habits, or even just our sheer inertia to change. But if we take the human element very, very seriously and we design around it, we can take huge advantage of technology. So let's take a look at the first, got it. Again, first time back on stage. Let's take a look at one of the trends that's emerging out of this research, which is called feedback frontiers. So this is not necessarily a new theme. I think we've been saying since the dawn of the internet 20-some years ago that the internet and the rise of e-commerce puts consumers in the driver's seat. That trend is true today, and it is going to accelerate as we move into the future. With the rise of convenience culture and the ubiquity of data collection, we are going to need to really hone in on our consumers, their preferences, and create synergistic relationships with those consumers. So consumers have a lot of new expectations of us. First of all, they very much care about their data and privacy. We're all used to the dynamic between, personalization versus privacy. But we're moving into an era in which consumers are going to take back control of their own data. Consumers now have a say in how their data is used and how we use it as marketers. Consumers are also looking for bipartisan, equal, mutually beneficial relationships with brands. So that needs to change the way we think about interacting with them. For me, that means we have to really focus in on trust. At Microsoft, we have been operating on a foundation of trust for years. And let's face it, sometimes that made us look a little conservative and a little stodgy. But I think as marketers, we all understand that today we all need to be putting a premium on data privacy and trust. If we do that, if we show consumers that we care about their privacy and we want to have a relationship with them, they will repay us, I believe, in giving us their data in exchange for content that they value. The other key thing I think it's important to understand relative to consumers is that we need to think of them as people and as collaborative partners. Let's stop thinking of consumers simply as a target audience. If we engage in real relationships with them, conversational engagements as opposed to simple transactions, that is going to create brand loyalty and really, really help us. I think that this idea of moving beyond a target audience and really embracing the consumers as the people that they are is going to help us create new forms of digital marketing. Advertising that is humble and participatory and has a sense of shared ownership. So let's bring in an example. Oh. Sorry, let me catch up here. There we go. Okay, slides are catching up. All right, let's think about a future scenario. Imagine it is June 2027, and we have Julia. Julia is an active digital consumer, and on this day, she wakes up to a calendar reminder that tells her that it is Digital Detox Day. The organizations that Julia engages with are reminding her through signposts in their platforms and apps that today is a day that she should take control of her own data and practice digital mindfulness. So this can mean a bunch of things for Julia. It can certainly mean, rejecting cookies or updating her settings. But the organizations she works with really want to encourage her to take a look at her device settings, right? To clean up her apps, maybe remove some location footprints, do things like enabling two-factor authentication and removing sensitive documents from the cloud. So as Julia does this, she is learning that she is in charge of her digital identity, that she can reclaim her control and feel good about the data that she is sharing out there. I think this sounds like a beautiful day. And obviously, this is not a current scenario. This is very much a future scenario. And it may seem far-fetched and a little ridiculous for me to tell a room full of online marketers that we want consumers to get rid of their cookies and clean up their privacy settings every couple of years. But I really think that this is getting to the heart of the transition we're going to see. We should, as brands, be encouraging consumers to take control of their data and identity and to protect that. If we show them that we really put their trust and privacy first, I believe that that will open up more possibilities for us and start to build those trusting relationships we talked about a second ago. Now, our next trend is called Betterment Platforms. And this trend is very, very much rooted in collaboration. I think we see this around us every single day. We are moving from a time in which individual consumers had specific opinions to a much broader demand for collective action and sustained action across all aspects of society. As we move into this age, brands are being asked to take positions, take sides, show what they stand for. And the whole idea of a Betterment platform is that a brand embraces this idea, this continual improvement, focusing on the values and the purpose that matter to their consumers. So let's take one example of that, sustainability. Now, obviously, it will require all of us, people and organizations, to solve for climate challenges. And very often, brands are being asked to take the lead. This needs to be more than lip service. Betterment Platforms is about really making a robust commitment to the causes. If a brand tries to just greenwash and make a couple environmental claims, but not really back that up and just focus on the margins of their business, consumers will see through that immediately. We know that 85% of consumers will only engage with the brand that they trust. And so now it's more important than ever that we deliver on the promises our brands are making. Another element of Betterment Platforms is equity. And when I talk about equity, I want us to think about equity very, very broadly, because conscious consumers are paying attention to everything companies do. They're paying attention to their products, they're paying attention to the services, they're paying attention to the activities of the company and their behavior in the public sphere. This is something that we've thought a lot about at Microsoft, because we believe that equity should also be built into the product itself and into the platform. So I'll share one example from Microsoft, and that is the Xbox Adaptive Controller. This controller is the product of what we call our hackathon, which every year Microsoft employees around the world get together for kind of like a one-week science fair, and they are empowered to build prototypes and bring new ideas for the business. So the adaptive controller was built by a set of very passionate engineers who wanted to create a game controller for people with mobility challenges. And this included everything from people who were missing limbs to people who are suffering from muscular dystrophy and a whole wide range of mobility challenges. They came up with the idea, and then they partnered with hospitals and charitable organizations to work with a broad swath of folks who suffered from mobility challenges. And they created this controller that literally allows everyone to be a gamer. But we learned some really important lessons in this. We learned that we cannot just stop at the product. No, we literally have to think about the whole package. One of the things that we learned as we were testing this product was that when people with mobility challenges tried to open it, it was a very frustrating experience. You know how it is when you open an electronics box. There are all these cellophane bags and twist ties. It's a mess, right? Well, so we decided, okay, let's take that very seriously. And we created this experience so that with one pull of a loop tab, all four sides of the box fall open, and it creates this very, very seamless experience. Now, this was something that we developed as a niche use case for people with mobility challenges, but it's such a good experience. We have actually leveraged this, and it's changed the way we think about packaging for the entire company. Hopefully, it's becoming clear that advertising is no longer something that can afford to be neutral. Advertising needs to be a positive force as we move into the future, and brands need to be seen as empowering and enabling both the consumers they service and also the societies they live in. Another great example of this is our partner Ecosia. Ecosia is the search engine that plants one tree for every search made. Ecosia has planted over 150 million trees. All of those users who have made those 150 million searches have contributed to the restoration of our environment. And 15 million consumers have added Ecosia in their Edge browser. This is one great example of championing and using a business model to do something for good. There are many, many more out there, but I think this is a great example of a Betterment platform. Okay, so let's talk about our next future scenario. Meet Anuj. Anuj is updating his social media apps, and he is very excited about this new thing, which is opt-in ad donations, right? Micro donations funded by ad platforms. And Anuj is very excited because his social media app is going to let him direct the donations to causes he cares about. He is very excited about a charity called Queer Refugees Deutschland, and he's looking forward to going to the upcoming Pride Parade and supporting them there. But he also sees in his social media app that there are a whole new host of charities that are coming online every week to whom he can direct his donations. So he chooses another cause, this one quite close to home, a charity that provides laptops to schools, gymnasium schools in the Hamburg area. And he knows that the next time he listens to a 1-minute advertising before his favorite podcast, that new cause will get a euro donation. A great way for Anuj to be able to do good very, very easily. Okay, this brings us to our third and final trend, which is cross-reality discovery. Whether you call it the metaverse, Web 3.0, the multiverse, it is abundantly clear that digital experiences are becoming immensely interactive and that literally there is no limit to the types of experiences we're going to be able to create for consumers over the next few years. We may not yet be in the science fiction realm of Minority Report, but certainly we see the stepping stones to achieving those realities in today's reality. The dividing line between the physical and the digital world is going to continue to erode and erase. And this is going to create amazing new opportunities for us to engage consumers, to showcase our products, and to build trusting relationships. As we see more and more digital adoption, this is going to create a whole new canvas for marketers and move from point of purchase engagement or point of utilization engagement into 24/7 engagement with consumers that is participatory and where there's a lot of shared discovery. Another key area where boundaries are eroding is the separation of work and life. So prior to the pandemic, Lynne, the Microsoft employee, and Lynne, the festival goer, were entirely different people, right? Entirely different people. And I was pretty rigorous about that separation of my personal versus my business life. But I don't think any of us operate that way anymore, right? The pandemic broke down all of those boundaries, and we are all flexing between the two. We call this phenomenon the rise of the workday consumer, and we engaged with Forrester Research to just get some facts on how are people operating in this new environment, how are people navigating work and life as they move throughout their day. We found that 56% of folks are using work time to look at major new purchases, right? To look for products, to look for services, to look for things that they intend to buy. And that shopping for new things and services actually eclipses the number of people who are browsing social media apps during work days. We also found that 39% of people are spending more than 1 hour per day during their workday on personal stuff. Now, that's okay, right? Because the pandemic has changed that definition of a workday. We all now are focusing on, working when it makes the most sense for us, as opposed to being limited to a 9-to-5 scenario. But this erosion of boundaries also means that digital identity is very, very important to consumers, and it's something that they are going to continue to construct and evolve across their work and professional and personal dimensions. So let me bring you one final future scenario. Let me introduce you to Ben. Ben is an amateur photographer who wants to create the perfect shot of the Marienplatz on his upcoming holiday to Munich. Ben wants to research and set up this shot before he leaves. So he is going to bring up a digital map of Munich, and he is going to create a holographic overlay that shows him all of the buildings in 3D. And this way he can kind of experiment and understand the perfect camera angle for that shot. He will then bring in a search data overlay that brings him the weather for while he'll be there on holiday. And this allows Ben to understanding how the lighting is going to look at different points of the day. Finally, the digital assistant on his phone is going to remind him to use a new camera lens, and also set a reminder so that he can set an alarm so that he can get up early the first day of his trip and capture his shot of the Marienplatz at sunrise. So whether it is Julia's digital detox day, Anuja's charitable giving, or Ben's photographic ambitions, all of these future scenarios have one thing in common, and that is the human element. All of them are centered around a human experience. And the more we center around that, put humans at the heart of the agenda, the better off we will all be as marketers. That means stopping thinking about consumers as simply target audiences and working on a collaborative relationship with them. It means taking privacy very, very seriously and the digital identities we just talked about and honoring those. It means building marketing campaigns around things that people actually need and want. Above all, this is about honoring the human experience in all of the marketing that we do. The future has so many exciting opportunities ahead of us. I'm going to leave you with one final example.
Family means a huge amount. It's lonely when you can't meet with your family as regularly as you want to. We've really not seen a lot of our grandchildren. When they were younger, we were a much closer family.
My granddad, with his knee injury, can't run around with us in the garden anymore. We stopped doing the things that kept us really close.
I can't connect with them in the way I used to. Hi.
Hi, love.
This is all new but very exciting, Dylan. I'm relying on you to get me through this process. Initially, I was nervous and not quite sure what I was doing. Shall I change my car? How do I start the car moving? Right trigger to go forward. Hang on, I'll take my eye off the road. Hi, how you doing, Dylan? You all right?
Good, thanks, you. I think the best way to improve a relationship is to learn something together. What did you do today, Grandpa?
We went for a walk this morning, very nice walk. I'm on deck. How long were you on your bike today?
Oh, it was just like a little training session for like 2 hours.
Now we're getting time together. I think we achieved a small breakthrough there. Uh-oh. Grandma, stop laughing.
To be fair, he got good enough at Forza to actually play. Oh, what? Oh, you beat me, no! Oh, that's actually not fair.
Oh no, what have I done?
Around my age, when you're with your friends and you're out, what did you do?
When I was a young man, I was in the Sea Scouts.
It's been mentioned, but I've not heard the details, so I'd like to know the details. Grandad, when did you learn to drive?
When I was 17.
Oh, and you passed first time. Okay. I'm scared of not passing and then having to, like, retake them. It's never not worth teaching someone something, especially with your granddad. Teaching him something, but you're getting something more out of it. I'm not sure if I want to go to uni or not.
When I left school, the same age as you are now, it's not just about a straightforward education. I don't think you're ever too old to start trying something.
Hey! Did you do it? Oh, so close. We haven't had that dynamic in a long time. Do you want to play this time next week, or are you going to be busy?
What's our diary for next week? It's a chance that I didn't realise I might be able to have. I like to think it's something we could carry forward for many years.
Thank you very much, everybody. Vielen Dank.